Before we begin, commissioners, please put away all cell phones. If you have personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless you are speaking. Also, when speaking, state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to attendees, the meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Seals?
Here.
Commissioner Sajal?
Here.
And seat D is vacant. And Commissioner Stafford?
Present.
Commissioner Seals, you do have a quorum with Commissioners Brown, Seals, Sajal, and Stafford present, and Commissioner Stafford is participating telephonically tonight.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Sajal, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business is the approval of the agenda. Before changes are discussed, are there conflicts of interest to declare? If the commission would like to discuss anything under the consent agenda, such as the minutes, they need to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under new business at this time. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing no changes, the agenda will stand as presented unless objection is raised. Next on the agenda are reports. Deputy Administrator Nygaard, do you have a report for us?
Thank you, Chair. No report tonight, but I do want to welcome Bethany Buckingham Follet. She is the museum curator and also spearheading the new and exciting 2024 City of Wasilla 4th of July parade. And she's going to present some details that everybody's going to want to know.
Thank you, Ms. Nygaard. Next item on the agenda. Oh, okay.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Bethany Buckingham Follet. I am the city representative for the 4th of July Parade update. We have a short presentation about the parade, which will happen on the Thursday, 4th of July this year. So we have a new route that is going to happen this year. Part of that is due to the Main Street project that is slated to start in 2025. So this is kind of a practice run to see how we can mitigate any issues if Main Street does have to be closed due to construction with that Main Street couplet project happening. So the new route will go down Cruzy, across Swanson, up Lucille, and back Nelson Bogart. And I'll have a larger map here in a moment. The other reason for doing this is that the float staging and logistics. So we've had some issues in the past with staging the floats, having confusion as to how to get in, how to get out, how to make sure that we're not crowding any area. Some of the floats that do come in are those large tow trucks with the large vehicles that they have. And so we're trying to see how we can eliminate or minimize most of those choke points. The other reason is that we have seen an increase in attendance for these parades. When I first got here, they were about 9,000 and they're getting close to 13 and 14,000. So with the old route that we had that went down Main Street, it was a very, for safety and security, a very, very tight choke point. So we're hoping that by moving it to the new route of, again, coming out of the high school, going down Cruzy, that allows us more space. Going down Swanson, again, there's more parking for people. There's more areas for them to be on sidewalks versus being out in the street, which we have had in the past up on Bogard. And then coming up Lucille, the float voting and the MC will be actually at Honor Garden, which matches very well with those charters of freedom that we have installed there at the Honor Garden. Also, it's a very easy access point for those judges and those attendees to then go over to the picnic. And then again, hopefully having less people on that Nelson Bogard route back. So that's basically a very brief, short presentation as to why we are changing the route. Do I have any questions or comments? We're hoping, again, if you see, sorry, I'll go back to that. If you see on the main street, there's only 2 choke points that we'd have to have. And I think it would be, actually, the committee decided that it would be easier to mitigate those 2 points if the road had to be closed. We should be able to get across those short jaunts of Main Street with this new route. So that was the other reason why we chose this.
Commissioner Seals, and I heard you mention parking, so is this gonna have more parking than in the past?
Yes, because I didn't back out on the map. I think the bigger map I have with you guys shows the Parks Highway. So in past years, we've had to close all those streets along Parks Highway. So we've had to close Connect, we've had to close Talkeetna, we've had to close all of those. Those are now open past to Herning. So that opens up all that area for people to park in those parking lots in those areas. It also prevents multiple turns that we've had in the past. This is pretty much 4 turns that we've had in the past. There was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns, I think. So this is definitely a lot easier for the fire trucks and for those larger parade floats that tend to come in.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, and going down Swanson, give a lot more room for people to stand, give shade to get out of the sun, and just a lot more area to keep kids away from the floats.
Right, so if we go down Swanson, that actually goes right by the Nunley Park area. So there is a park area for kids to play in. It also has sidewalks on either side of the street. So again, we don't have people creeping into the road as much as possible. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will see. So again, this is a test run, we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this will be the new route.
Have you got any feedback, Commissioner Brown again, have you got any feedback from the public?
Not yet, but again, this has gone out on the, we've just started getting the information out. So I have a feeling in the next month or so, we'll probably be getting those conversations and discussions, comments.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stafford, do you have any comments?
Not at this time. I appreciate that the city's always working hard to make every event as good as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Seals, do we have a city attorney tonight?
We may have to take just a brief at ease. I just received an email from the city attorney asking for the call-in information. So if you give me just one moment, we may have an attorney on the line. Just one moment, please.
We can pause for that.
Okay. And we are still streaming.
I saw that you wanted to have a float this morning. Were you one of those that voted for Sunrise to have a float?
It had been talked about.
I know somebody has a nice black truck that can pull something. Just saying.
It's pretty new.
It is pretty nice looking.
Yeah, shiny like that.
Had it shipped up from the lower
Magnet.
48.
The chick magnet.
Okay.
Zoe Eisberg has joined.
Evening, Holly.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Zoe Eisberg.
Oh, hey, Zoe. Do you have a report for us tonight? This is Commissioner Seals.
I do not. Holly and I are continuing our work on the Title 16 revisions, and that's primarily how we've occupied our time lately.
Well, thank you for at least joining our meeting tonight.
Certainly.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearing. We do not have any items scheduled for the public hearing tonight, so we move on to persons to be heard. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the Planning Commission. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to the administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the Commission or administration. Anyone wishing to step forward or online may do so at this time. With no one wishing to speak, the next item of business is the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you read the items for approval under the consent agenda into the record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have the regular meeting minutes from April 23rd, 2024.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Commissioner Brown moved to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Sajal, second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brown. I'm so sorry. And seconded by Commissioner Sajal to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. There's no new business or unfinished business, so we'll move directly to communications. Are there any comments on the communication items as presented? Which would be the permit information, enforcement log, and the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission agenda.
Commissioner Seals, just a question for the city administrator. Was there any positive movement on the liquor license that we was trying to get additional liquor license?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilmember Brown, Commissioner Brown, sorry. You may recall we had 20 REPLs issued. We've had 2 that have applied and exponentially got their license, one of them being the brewery, so they can now be a restaurant. And there was one other one that had contacted us who had let their license lapse during COVID-19, primarily because they couldn't get workers, and so they hired workers under the age required for their alcohol license. They've circled back around and done their application, so they should be coming through the process here pretty quickly. So 2 of the 20.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Seals, I wanted to update the commission regarding the code enforcement log. I've been working with our software, which is CitizenServe. We traditionally, from what I can see, the previous staff would present a code compliance log that had everything that had happened since the previous meeting. And I needed to verify with our code enforcement officer that the report that I would be generating, what exactly he wanted me to have in it, because we have some options. We have closed, opened, or just everything that occurred during that period, as well as it encompasses everything. So, for example, he does deal with things like the dog issues. So if somebody was maybe having a dog violation or a violent dog, those would be in there as well. So I need to meet with him. He was out last week, and we have the report almost ready to go. So at the next meeting, it's going to be hopefully at the next meeting, if not the meeting after, it'll be quite an extensive list that you'll see in there, because it will go all the way back to, I believe, September 13th, if I remember correctly, was when that last one was, the cutoff on that last one was. So just be on the lookout for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. We are now at audience comments, a time for members of the public to share their views with the commission. This is not a question and answer period or time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission? With no one wishing to speak, we now move on to comments. Madam Clerk, do you have any comments?
I just wanted to thank Bethany for the presentation tonight. That was very wonderful. Thank you for the update. I look forward to seeing that as a former volunteer. We enjoyed the parade last year as from the viewpoint as a watcher. So it was really enjoyable. So this will be neat. And I also just wanted to mention our next Planning Commission meeting is May 28th.
Thank you. Deputy Administrator Nygaard, do you have any comments?
I do have a couple. One is we are in the season of lots of activity. We're averaging 19 to 21 calls a day. We're getting 5 to 7 applications or individuals coming into planning for inquiries. We're also getting a number of calls about lot clearing. We just want to have you guys be our champions on lot clearing. Most of them are inquiring because they either are going to build a structure, which is allowable, or increase vagrancy that is happening in this core area where they can't get rid of the homeless camps. And so they've called us. So code compliance and planning and public safety are working together to create legislation that allows for some type of mitigation if they have high vagrancy or overgrown brush that could be a fire hazard. Or in one instance, we have a new commercial business that has got quite a few bad residents finding their way to the back of his business, and clearing those trees has kind of scooshed them away. So if anybody asks you about clearing, we are addressing the vagrancy issue, and some other issues come with clearing. And the other thing is mobile vendors. Getting a lot of calls for mobile food vendors or any type of mobile vendor. We're working very collaboratively with planning, and I think one of the proposed changes that are going to come forward is to centralize all those permits into one area, because it's quite confusing for the public. So anyway, we've also, if you haven't noticed, we moved the planning department down right across the hall from Public Works, and people seem to find that to be very convenient, that they can come in, see exactly what their land use permit is, walk across the hallway, see what their sewer is, and then get their business license. So I think it's been a really, really positive thing for City Hall.
Thank you. City Attorney, do you have any comments?
I do not. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Thank Bethany for the report. She must have an outstanding committee working on that.
Ew.
Looking forward to it and seeing, I think it'll be a lot easier for my guys to work it than from past years. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Sagel, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Stafford, do you have any comments?
No, other than I want to note, I will not be at the May 28th meeting. I won't be available in person, and I also probably won't be available to call in.
Thank you very much. I do have a comment about the land clearing. I know in Anchorage, they cleared from like 6 feet down, and it opens up the area so that the police and code enforcement can look through the area. So we may not necessarily have to get rid of all the trees on the undeveloped lots, but if they're cleared to a certain height, it makes it virtually impossible for them not to be seen in that area. So that would be my comment on that. Thank you very much for your presentation. Looking very forward to see the fruits of your labor, and I think it'll be very enjoyable for the citizens. With no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless an objection is raised. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
Give me a second to object.
Hello? Why should I?
Todd Stafford.